Hey, um, it's Jacqueline again, and welcome to A Twin Flame Path. This is the next part of this introduction of the Twin Flame journey or the Twin Flame experience. The first video was a little background about what we do here in the collective. We're a community, so that's what we're all about. So this video is going to go a little bit into detail about my background and more specifically my path to ascension. And I don't ever think that people can be fully ascended, but there is an initial opening of a door, an initial bridge that you cross, and once you cross that bridge, you're in a new land. So my childhood was extremely turbulent, and that didn't change ever. And a little background of that is that there was a lot of violence and abuse and just things that are very stressful. And that was just the first 5 years. So things simmered down here and there, but ultimately the truth got exposed. I spent a lot of years making up excuses for the people around me. They're this way because they were abused when they were young, and they're this way because, oh, she had low self-esteem, and oh, well, this person, he's gotta be right because, well, I've always looked up to him, but why are these people still abusing me, and why aren't they helping me get out of this abusive situation that I landed myself in? And I needed a way out. And at the time, I wasn't capable of just leaving, And so I've always been prayerful. I've always believed in Jesus Christ and believing the Bible as the Word of God. But I got to this point, and in addition to praying, I started meditating. And then I started doing more research. And then I started finding answers. And then I started experiencing truth. And some of the things that I did with my meditation, and some of my meditation was from desperation because I was determined to reach this thing that I had read about. So I would listen to binaural beats, and I would sun gaze, and I changed my diet, and the truth just started to surface. And I'm a big believer in the truth always comes out, and it did. And my captors didn't like that too much. Ultimately, people who are controlling are ultimately bullies, and they're predatorial, and they like to, not let go. And, that true leaders have a totally different style and approach. I was surrounded at this time by bullies, namely my nuclear family and blood relatives of my nuclear family. And, I got to a point where I just had to keep on trucking. And it seemed like I lost a lot in the process, but then the knowledge continued to evolve. And that didn't mean that things got easier, but I was away from deceit. I stopped making excuses, and I just started living in the truth. And that led me to having a greater awareness of my twin flame. And that ultimately led to the introduction that made me realize that the person in my dreams that never had a face actually existed. And that was the most profound moment of my life. And every day since has been very profound. Still fighting, still making that way. But I'm not alone anymore. And I'm not surrounded by unevolved minds. So I say this to say that when you are thinking that you may have a twin flame, that you are aware that you do, or you just want to learn if you do, Ascension and meditation and these techniques, they can't hurt. Now, don't try to do things too rapidly. The truth can set you free, but it can be pretty intense. And be prepared to not defend yourself, because honestly, if you have to keep defending yourself to people, they're not really worth keeping around. I was actually taught that by my twin flame, because I would want to convince people of the truth and sit here and spend all this time talking, but they're not worth the time because they're living in this other mode, this other way of life that's just not very, it's just what that, past that. If you want to talk about truth and reality and the here and now and communicate well, then constructive people, they're worth your time. But when you're going through, you might have some requests or demands for explanation, and you're not obligated. But I deeply feel that these things lead twins closer together. And we'll get into more of the workings of the work that comes along and, other details in the future. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's very fun. It's very interesting. It's very metaphysical. It's very quantum. It's very enriching. I will say this. Along with Ascension, you won't necessarily stop attracting leechy kind of people. They may be attracted to your energy because the twin flame energy is so beautiful. It's about love and truth. And cats that aren't happy with themselves or their situations, they don't like that too much. And misery loves company, and that's the truth, So just beware of that, but don't be afraid. It's not a big deal. It's like you'll recognize it. What happens is you start recognizing things so fast that it's like, okay. You won't even have any words to say, hardly have any energy to put towards it. Putting energy towards it is kind of like paying homage. Pay homage to the good things, to the ones that love you and have supported you. And I have to say, I don't mention the details of my twin flame relationship very often, but I have to say big ups and so many thanks. And so much love and appreciation eternally to my twin for being so patient with me, because I will say that my twin, he was aware of us before I became aware. I had dreams for years and had this image of this person that I never thought would exist. But he had a working knowledge, and I'm so thankful of his patience with me through all of that, through the process, and up until now. I still throw my tantrums, but try to keep that under control. My tantrum solution, it's actually a remedy from my twin, is that I usually need to eat and I usually need to sleep. And you'll physically feel things with Ascension, but I urge you to do your research. But the spiritual things, they take a toll, and sometimes I can get massively cranky, and I think I need to do some more work, and I'll just get hungrier or more tired and crankier. So I'm really appreciative of him for those things and the help of our entire family. I've just never experienced anything like it before, and I'm just really thankful because I'm not alone. But I will give a little preview of what's to come. We're going to be exploring things about the connection itself and different ways of communicating and different ways of not communicating. And sometimes we'll go into what's happening right now in the present day, what's happening this week, what this energy situation or shift may feel like. I don't go too much in the future, like I've stated in other videos. But things do happen, and we'll discuss how the world events affect us, how we affect each other. I will say, with message boards and things like that, don't be too angry or harsh towards your twin, especially publicly, because, there's something nice about keeping relationships between the people involved. So, unless you have something awesome to share, that's good too. So, I will end on that note, and I will see you soon. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you are able to pick some flowers along the path that we just went down that will make the room of your mind more pleasant or lead you to some kind of goodness. And if not, just thanks for hanging out. Please subscribe and share, and let's grow together. A Twin Flame Path is the name of the Facebook group, and soon you'll see more of the entities getting added as time progresses. Should happen relatively quickly. So talk soon, and be well in the meantime. Looking forward to it. Bye.